All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Late Night Shots Podcast, episode 52 today. And the main topic for discussion is we really want to break down this a match that might be going down the semifinals of the Olympic trials, which will be Isaiah Martinez versus Kyle Dake. First glance you look at this match, you kind of take it for granted that Dake will probably win. But, you dive in more depth, you think that you got to make more of a case for Isaiah Martinez here, right? You look at Kyle Dake, probably one of the greatest college wrestlers of all time, behind very few guys such as Logan Stieber, Cael Sanderson. That's really it. The fact that, I was actually looking at a poll yesterday. David Taylor has scored more points at the NCAA tournament than Kyle Dake has.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, stylistically, David Taylor was just melting dudes.
Yeah. And they said that David Taylor was a better college wrestler than Kyle Dake. I don't know how that would work since Dake beat him, but that's kind of the criteria they went off of. I also don't agree with Logan Stieber at number 2, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Cael was still robbed, but, for the greater good there. So.
Yeah.
But, again, you look at Isaiah Martinez's career, could have been a 4-timer. Obviously you say he wasn't, but he got caught and pinned, and then he kind of choked. That's really all you can really say. It's Vincenzo Joseph,
Unfortunately.
The miracle match, inside trip.
Yeah.
He won as a freshman, beat Brian Robuto from Cornell, beat Jason Olf as a sophomore, and then all twice. It is what it is. But today we're going to be doing a technical analysis of the match that will be going down. Dave will probably take the lead on this one. I'm just probably sit back for a little bit. But all right, Take it away, man.
All right, so I do want to talk about just how, first off, we were talking about this before we started recording. 74 kilos, the conversation revolves around Dake and Burroughs. Now, if you think about, first off, Imar and Dake have the same number of wins over Burroughs, frankly. And Isaiah Martinez did it by taking down Burroughs in a very short exchange, because the name of the game, again, is always going to be scoring in as little time as possible, especially in freestyle, because the longer that you're stuck holding onto a leg, the more likely it becomes that you're going to get exposed. I feel like Jordan Burroughs' scrambling ability is kind of underrated. It was just it reminded me today because Flow Wrestling posted about his match with Chimizo. So I'm looking at, I believe this is the semis of the 2017 World Team Trials. So this was a match that Dake won 9-1. On paper, that is a really one-sided win. 4 of those points were scored off of a gut wrench early in the first period. So I want to talk first off about the neutral right here, because I feel like we unfortunately can't pull up the video on your screen, but I want to talk about just the positional.
Actually, if you send me the video after, I'll try to put it. I don't think it'll work out.
Right.
Actually, I don't know, but it wouldn't help people listening to the actual podcast. So I might do it on Instagram.
So I do want to talk about the positional soundness of both of these wrestlers, because I feel like people talk about Dake and people talk about Burroughs, these guys who have perfect position, but Dake obviously shuts dudes out. Jordan Burroughs pretty much sets up his offense. I saw this brilliant video on it the other day. Jordan Burroughs sets up his offense through faking, walking the guy into it, clubbing on the head, a drag to a single to the double, or just shooting it, to be honest. So whenever you talk about being positionally sound, though, the common thread, regardless of if you're Jordan Burroughs, where your ability to stay in perfect position means that you score well, or if it's more Kyle Dake, where he completely shuts people out wherever he can. The commonality is that if you are positionally sound, your opponent should not be able to move your feet, right? So whenever you talk about a guy like Imar, whose style is very, very physical, and because he's got that underhook and he's got the he's more than an underhook nowadays, which I feel like is a big thing as well. Like he'll tend to he'll enter his underhook 99% of the time with what's called a, I don't know like what other people call it, but my coach always called it a meet and greet. Obviously, you just palm on the head, pull it to the side, and then punch your underhook.
Yeah, we just call it a club. Just club and jack.
Yeah. So I'm watching this match, and it's, for one, Imar matches Kyle Dake's level very, very well, and that's part of what makes Kyle Dake so difficult to wrestle. And he gets to his underhook. Now, this is the biggest thing for me. Isaiah Martinez gets to his underhook on everybody. Mm-hmm. No shock there. But it is so difficult to get to a tie that controlling on Kyle Dake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about good underhook guys at the highest levels of wrestling, Kyle Dake himself actually has a really good underhook.
Yeah, and Hassan Yazdani too.
Hassan Yazdani, Zarbek Sidikov.
Being
able to get an underhook.
Use it very well too. If you look at him.
Yeah. So whenever you want to talk about, first off, a technique that's excellent. I feel like there's no debating really that besides maybe a Russian tie that the underhook is the single best upper body control in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So his ability to get to it is what's important. So I mean, Kyle Dake scored off of a step out, a 4-point feet to back exchange, which I'll get into a little bit more later.
The iconic one that happened.
Yeah. Step-ins and there was an exchange at the edge, which could have ended in 4, but it ended in 2. So on the feet, in terms of literal positional scoring exchanges, Kyle Dake still won because of his ability to control the center, right? But then if you want to look at the contrast for Isaiah Martinez versus Jordan Burroughs, which I'm going to pull up right now. Right. So match 2, which Isaiah won via, I believe it was that post high crotch.
It was it was like a backwards leg lace. It was a leg lace where they both had their legs, and it was something weird. I think I've watched that match a good amount of times.
And he managed to turn Burroughs, which, I mean, obviously, whenever you're talking about, I feel like that's the weird thing with American parterre offense. I feel like everywhere else in the world is so much better at gut wrenches than the rest of us, but we're developing really, really good leg laces. So, and then if you want to talk about, because this is the latest version of Isaiah Martinez scoring on Jordan Burroughs, and he did it with this amazing, I love this clip so much. It's when I began like working on my high crotches personally, and I based it off this clip. So he hits this over tie club post high crotch, right? So he pulls Jordan up with an inside tie. Jordan responds inside tie far side. Isaiah goes over tie. He clubs it down, and then since Jordan was still posted on the other shoulder, he goes high crotch. And it's just so clean. And especially whenever you talk about a dude who stays in their stance as well as Burroughs does. Like, if you want to talk about, like, someone – I know that, like, obviously everyone at this level of wrestling has an excellent stance and they stay in their stance a lot of the time. But you also got to talk about, like, if you look at a guy like Pat Downey, who maybe isn't the best example because of how unorthodox he is, he isn't in, like, this amazing stance all the time. Which, I mean, partially that's because, again, he's an upper body dude. He's also, like, 6'1".
This
so Imar comes in.
I just got a comment on Instagram just popped. It just stood out to me real quick. I have to read this. This was just commenting on my Big Ten post of the seeds and whatever. So it's basically who can get second place with the laughing emoji. I got Cassiope meeting Gable in the finals.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I'll be honest.
Yeah. And then so coming back to Imar Kyle Dake. So where Imar would kind of like, I don't want to say he made a mistake because he still implemented his own game plan, be heavy on the head, get to your underhooks, right? So he's not a guy who operates from space very often, but Kyle Dake just kept a really good job of cutting his elbows in and clearing the underhooks, right? So if we think about that in contrast to the Imar that beat, okay, so actually, you know what? Since I'm at that in the match, let's talk about the feet to back exchange. So Imar goes underhook. So Dake does this. It's probably my personal favorite way to clear any tie. Really create some space and then cut your elbow inside and circle. And then Imar tries to go elbow pass, but then Kyle Dake goes single leg and then runs into Imar's hips. Now, I feel like it should just be said well enough that Kyle Dake has an excellent single leg attack, and that Imar was able to stuff it so well says at least something. Now, the problem becomes Kyle Dake's ability to chain wrestle, and Kyle Dake has said it himself. He's really good at just wrestling with whatever's open, right? Yeah. I've seen Kyle Dake score with high crotches, single legs, double legs. He's the single most well-rounded dude on Team USA. And then Imar drags him up with an overhook, and then Kyle Dake follows, takes the body lock, and since he's already got the hip position and you got the 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really hold him there. He didn't manage to stick him or keep him close to being stuck, but then he gets the 2 gut wrenches that carry him pretty much all the way until the end with a last-minute takedown. So in terms of the hand-fighting exchanges here, Imar, for one, is managing to back Kyle Dake up. That is no small feat at all. Kyle Dake keeps such good position, and he does that. He goes to a 3-point stance pretty frequently because he's very tough to move there. But Imar is moving him around. And so if you want to talk about people who could / have beaten Kyle Dake, because I'm going to draw a comparison between Burroughs and Imar here. So Burroughs is an outside wrestler. I feel like that's no secret, right? So for examples of like what exactly outside wrestling would be, that would be like, your John Smith, your Jordan Burroughs, your Jordan Oliver. And then you have Imar, who's very physical, he's always on the head. He does not shoot from space, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about how both of these guys have managed to move Kyle Dake out of position, because that's the first step to beating anyone in a wrestling match. Break their position, impose your position. So he comes in, he's super heavy on that right collar, and he almost gets to his high crotch. He gets really close to that high crotch, and something that you brought up a lot with Nick Lee's ability is being a lower weight that can shoot without hitting a knee. Whenever he went collar tie, high crotch, but he only just changed his level. Now, I think for one that it's insane that one would attempt that, really, to just collar tie and like duck your level a little bit and then try to reach to the far knee. But he got really close. The problem being that Imar shot it left-footed, and that was at Kyle Dake's trail leg, so it wasn't really there. And then we're coming into the break, right? And then we've got the second period, right? So again, they both start really, really low. That's a testament to the gas tank of both of these guys, for one, which is amazing to me, that they both get into like an absolutely perfect stance right after the break. I haven't wrestled very much freestyle frequently, but I do know that 3 minutes sucks.
Yeah.
Like a 3-minute freestyle round is probably the most brutal round in wrestling. At least that would be my take. You can feel free to disagree with me in comments.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You could compare it to kind of college, but you mainly third periods in college are 10 times harder than third periods in high school. And that's just because of the extra first minute.
So, I mean, I feel like it would be notable to say that Kyle Dake is not winning leg attack positions, right? Mm-hmm. He's chain wrestling very well, but he's not winning leg attack positions. And Imar has gotten so close to scoring more times than Kyle Dake has attempted, right? Mm-hmm. And the thinking ultimately would be Kyle Dake beat him. Kyle Dake is better than him, which is correct. Kyle Dake was better than him in 2017. I feel like there's no denying that whatsoever, right? But whenever you want to talk about Imar in 2017 was relatively fresh out of college. Didn't he graduate 2016, I want to say. But that could be very wrong.
Graduated.
2017
2018 was the year 2016 was the year like Bo and everybody won their title, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, that was 2019. Then he graduated in 2018. I think he was still in college in 2017.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about this dude who's still in college and he's wrestling Kyle Dake, right? And then he got to show off diverse offense, right? I mean, whenever he was in college, he was an underhook guy. I feel like there's no disputing that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he did everything that you could with an underhook. He had throw-bys. He had body locks. He had an inside trip, I believe. He had an excellent near-side single. This was just a powerful dude, right? If you look at him, he wrestles how he looks, right? But I'm looking at how he's wrestling Kyle Dake, and he's doing an excellent job as well of keeping the pressure on, which is how you beat a guy like Kyle Dake, right? I think about some wrestlers are like brawlers, like you got DeSanto, right? If you want to beat DeSanto, you slow it down and you, like the phrase would be, make it a chess match, right? That's how Kyle Dake wins matches. He keeps it slow. He keeps it down to a couple of exchanges, and he wins because he knows the outcome of most scoring exchanges, like how to win everything, how to stay in position, right? If I'm in on a single leg, Kyle Dake could think of like at least 5 different ways to score on me. And if it's me specifically, he could probably score on me in like 20 different ways. So it's the ability to put the pressure on a guy like that, because that's how you slip up in matches, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about a guy like David Taylor, you see guys stumble against David Taylor because he shoots so frequently. and you don't have time to think of offense, right? That's why I think that's the chief reason I think that Imar could beat Kyle Dake, right? Is because he moves them around and he keeps pressure on him, right? Because Jordan Burroughs moves people's feet through fakes, which isn't nearly as exhausting as having like a 5'8" tank of a man just pulling on your head for 6 minutes, right? So, because I think that's not spoken enough, right? Imar kept contact with Dake pretty much the entire 6 minutes. He kept his hands on him, right? And obviously, Kyle Dake doesn't shy away from a hand fight really ever, but it has to be said that clearly Kyle Dake's plan was to keep away from the underhooks, right? Which obviously he cleared them very well. He stuck to the plan. But if you look at the time between Dake scoring 7 points and him scoring the last 2, if you took away the scoreboard, you would think that Imar is going to wear Dake down, right? This was a battle of gas tank, which Kyle Dake ultimately won, right? Just because he managed to get to that great scoring exchange in the first period. But right now, Imar isn't letting up. He's still keeping on him. I think part of this is the lead leg problem where Imar can wrestle from a square stance, but he's mostly a lefty, right? Kyle Dake's a righty. So, and I mean, obviously, they both switch stances pretty frequently just because they're good wrestlers, right? So, this presents the problem where Imar can't consistently get to his high crotch, right? So, whenever you're a lefty high crotch guy, like think NATO, or I think Spencer Lee as well has a good lefty. Your struggle is always going to be getting to the trail leg. That's why all of your setups have to be about moving that trail leg forward. And with a guy who's just as aware as Dake is, that's difficult, right? So what Dake has managed to do is that even though Imar's pulling on his head and like moving him back, Imar hasn't been moving his feet into him. So if we look at, again, Imar versus Burroughs, right? So if we look at Imar's growth.
Dude, like first things off, like if you look at that match, right, I think the main excuse Jordan Burroughs fans are again gonna the whole singlet debate, scales off and all that. That's the first thing you always hear. You know, you say Jordan Burroughs and David Taylor wrestling. They are all making excuses for Jordan Burroughs.
Yeah.
Essentially what it is, you know. I will say, yeah, it's whatever, it's the criteria, whatever. He bumped up the weight class, but Jordan Burroughs willingly bumped up the weight class.
Jordan Burroughs
I don't think that loss matters technically, but it's a loss nonetheless. Same thing if he loses to Heath Valencia, that's a loss. You know, I don't think it matters too much he's bumping up weight class to face guys, but it's still a loss.
Yes. So, and then if we look at 2019 Imar, you know, he's had a couple of years to develop. He's been specifically planning to wrestle guys like Burroughs and Dake. So, again, it's the same physical style. He kind of, again, he's just a little tank. I think he's the shortest out of the three of these guys, the stockiest. So,
Who, Imar?
Yeah, I believe so, because Dake and Burroughs are both like 5'10".
Nah, Burroughs is like 5'7", 5'8".
5'7".
No, I swear Imar is taller than Burroughs.
It doesn't look like it right now, although it might just be that Burroughs is a lot longer.
No, I swear Burroughs is definitely shorter, but I may be wrong on that. That's just what I'm seeing. But
so
Imar hasn't
if you look at this,
a lot. If now you think about it,
he had surgery.
He did. Yeah, what was his ankle or something? Knee.
His knee, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't anything too.
Right now, he's just assistant coaching at OSU.
Oregon State. Yeah, that's a good coaching combination too. Isaiah Martinez and Chris Pendleton.
Yeah, dude. Like they had a bunch of dudes in the Pac-12 finals. They've developed a lot of guys really well. Like, I mean, okay, I'm always gonna be biased. J.J. Dixon and Brendan Kaler. I don't know if Kaler made the finals, but J.J. Dixon made the finals against who was it? In
the Pac-12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he won
at 184.
At 133.
Kaler?
No, Dixon.
Dixon is a 184.
They're 133-1. I swear it was Dixon or something.
Oh, Devin Turner. Yeah.
My bad.
That's fine.
he's somewhere, and I was like, all right.
Yeah. So, anyways, evolution of Imar, right? So even though Jordan Burroughs is a dude who moves his feet a lot more often than Dake, again, this is the scoring exchange that will always be talked about. This overtime post high crotch. So I want to talk about, because evidently I think Imar has worked on his offense being around moving the guy's feet didn't work with Dake, right? And it's not really going to work very well with Burroughs, who keeps things at space. So if I look at this post high crotch, it became more about getting Burroughs' hands to the mat. So if you slow this down really quick, and obviously you can't see this, but I'm going to watch it in 0.25. So again, you've got the tie set up. So Imar, of course, is shooting lefty. Burroughs is a hard right leg lead. Now, I can't show you this. I can't show you this, as I said the last 10 seconds. But Burroughs is keeping his trail leg very, very far back, because obviously you want to recognize that, right? Because Imar is nowadays primarily an inside step attacker. So if he's lefty, then you want to keep your leg that's across away, because then he can't get to his inside step. So instead of moving Burroughs' feet, he decides to move his upper body so severely out of position, and he's so confident in his ability to cover distance, right? So whenever someone posts on a high crotch, one thing that gets missed out on by a lot of people, and I learned this in the past couple of weeks myself, people post the arms straight up, where rather what made this work so well, you post the arm into their face, right? So if I post on someone and they want to post high crotch, instead of posting it straight up, they want to post it upward, because then I open up this entire side and they have access to my hip. So I don't know if anyone listening, you're high crotch guys, but you want to shoot for the hip, because whenever the guy down blocks, and you see this in this clip, his hip doesn't move very much.
So what I'm gonna say this right now. They have a share screen feature. We'll figure that out next time.
Yeah.
We'll let that be known. So if any of you guys, when we do more of these these breakdown analysis things, we'll try to figure all this out, and maybe I'll try to edit the video in a way. We'll try to keep these under a little bit, so it'll be quick and easy to watch though. So I was just interrupting real quick. My bad. Get back into it.
No problem. Yeah. So he pulls on his head. Burroughs is very smart. He's still keeping his trail leg far away, right? So Imar pulls in on the overtie, right? And then as Burroughs goes to clear the collar with his wrist, right? So if you don't have this committed to memory, so Imar clubs, Burroughs is reaching up. He's doing that palm in clear, if you ever wrist roll out of a collar, right? And then as he hits that, Imar's posting the far side. He's posting it into Burroughs, right? So if you pause the clip at the right moment, you can see Burroughs' arm is physically in his eyes, which, prior to the most basic tenets of wrestling, he can't defend what he can't see, right? So, that's why a lot of people can set up a double by literally just putting a palm in your face and then going.
Yep.
So as he does that, it also opens up his body, and it gives Imar the angle he needs. Because even though Burroughs down blocks, Imar is so clear out to the side with such a perfect angle that he'll miss the hip even, because Burroughs kind of falls off to the side as he down blocks. But because he missed the hip and not the ankle, then he gets onto that. And then obviously he comes in, he gets to his 2, and then he eventually gets to a leg lace, right? So I think it's safe to say that Burroughs is a lot faster than Imar, right?
Yeah.
What we see is that just through technique alone, Imar set him up so well, and even despite the footwork difference. So anyways, back to the match at hand. Do I think that Imar scores in this exact way against Kyle Dake? No, that would just be flat out fundamentally wrong, because Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Dake are fundamentally very, very different wrestlers, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that since Kyle Dake is not someone that you're going to score on by moving his feet, regardless of how physical of a wrestler you are, Imar being able to do this to someone like Jordan Burroughs, whose footwork is absolutely excellent, shows that he has evolved as necessary from 2017 to 2019 and beyond, because I believe this is the last match I've seen him wrestle, besides, the full 3 series.
I think this is the last match he's wrestled. And, even with that being said, Imar is what, 24 or something? 25?
Yep.
Not probably 26, 27, something like that. But was Dake almost 30? Was Burroughs almost 33 or something? Like those
I
guys
think
are
Dake
already
is like
on.
28.
Yeah, they can say whatever he wants, but he's getting older. At the end of the day.
If he's getting younger every day, then he's what, like 3 by now?
That's fucking crazy, dude. That whole thing pissed me off. Like that just made me like Dake even less. I was a Dake guy originally, and then again, I've been saying it, facts over feelings. A
Yeah.
lot of people are just gonna pick Jordan Burroughs to win every match just because they want him to. A lot of people are just gonna pick Kyle Dake to win every match.
Oh, and then
People,
another thing I just want to talk about as well. So after Imar scores that high crotch, Jordan starts showing him a little bit more respect. He starts really biting hard on Imar's fakes. And then this is the big thing for me. Gabe Dean does this as well, another underhook guy. He fakes to get to his underhook, right? Now, Kyle Dake has never been someone who bites super hard on fakes until someone takes him down. Like, you see that with Jordan Burroughs, right? He's very cautious about that double, right? So this is important because it's going to be another way for him to get to his underhook without having to deal with Dake's ability to overhook very well. Because if I get to my underhook I fake, you down block out of it, and then as you come back up, I punch it in, right? As you come back up, because if you do it well enough, you get it in while he's coming up, and then he's still got more to come up. If you do that, if Imar does that against Dake, now obviously I'm not his coach, and this might not even be the best route to victory.
Yeah.
But if he does that against Dake, as Dake comes up, he can get to his shot, right? And you only need 1 or 2 shots to beat Dake, right? Because Dake is not someone who makes big comeback wins. Dake is someone who gets an early lead and then he shuts you out.
Yeah. You saw the same thing with North, too.
Exactly.
And again, looking at he had a 5-0 match with Jason Nolf. Imar tech Nolf last time they wrestled. Like, obviously, Isaiah Martinez matches up a lot better with Jason Nolf, but
yes,
that talent gap is widened extreme a lot, like to say the least, too.
I do want to cover one thing. So obviously, so it's the last 20 seconds of the match. What is Jordan Burroughs known for?
Sprinting.
His ability to sprint. Exactly. So I want to talk about, we've never seen Kyle Dake forced into a sprint, or at least in recent memory. But obviously, he has the ability to start picking up the hand fight. I remember whenever he wrestled Chamizo early on in the match, that was probably the most active Dake you'll see in a few years.
And, when Jordan Burroughs broke the match down, like, he said right now, Dake's not a scorer. Like, that he tried to force scores for like the first whole minute of that match. Couldn't force anything. Again, Chamizo's a guy, was known for his athleticism and defense, right? Probably the 2 most athletic guys at the world level right now are going to be Jordan Burroughs and Frank Chamizo. I don't think anybody's arguing that.
Exactly. So I'm looking at this match.
Yep.
And eventually it gets to this exchange. So it's not common to see Jordan Burroughs in a prolonged hand fight, but in a match against Imar, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But Jordan Burroughs is hitting all his fakes. Imar hits a knee. And eventually, Jordan, so it's 5-5. Imar leads on criteria. Yeah. Jordan gets to an underhook at the edge. Obviously, he's thinking push out because, that would win him the match, right? It's the last 7 seconds. I want to talk about the position that happens right here. It's kind of a 50-50, except Imar plants his foot to the outside edge, and then he keeps Jordan off of him for just long enough.
Was this the second match?
So winning that sort of a positional battle against Jordan Burroughs, who is probably, barring Kyle Dake maybe, but we've seen him more on the international level, Jordan Burroughs probably makes some of the best use of the step out point in terms of an American wrestler.
Yeah.
Right?
Easily.
Obviously. Yeah. So for Imar to pull that off and be that positionally sound, to evolve like that, right? Because it's not like whenever he wrestled Kyle Dake, it's not like he had poor positioning. It's just that Kyle Dake is literally like the epitome of position in wrestling, right? So Imar's evolution being displayed, especially to win that 50-50 situation, right? Because even though he was on the underhook in this situation, what happened in the Kyle Dake match was a fault on his overhook in a 50-50, right? Or a dogfight position. So he made a couple of changes. For one, he got his far foot out wide, and by far foot I mean you have the overhook side, your far foot, your far leg. He got that out and he planted it, right? So if you want to talk about hypothetically, so if Kyle Dake still wanted to come up and body lock, if Imar kept that foot out wide, he would be able to get that other hand in and make it into an over-under position as opposed to a double under, double over, right? So in the match, Imar was forced to attempt an inside trip, which obviously didn't end up well for him because Kyle Dake already had the angle. So then you get, this against Jordan Burroughs, which is just nothing short of incredibly impressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all my thoughts on it. Do you want to double down?
I'll be honest right now. I don't, third matches, if any of these go into a third match, obviously Imar is projected to meet Dake in the semis. Dake gets by the semis. Imar starts off in the quarters, whatever.
I also do want to talk about one thing in case anyone decides to go on about if anyone decides to go on about how Kyle Dake is just all in all a better wrestler than Imar and I'm an idiot for this pick, I'm gonna just say that they have the same number of wins against Burroughs, right? And I would say that Imar's win is more definitive.
100%. What I will say is, again, no matter who makes it to the finals, whether it be Dake or Imar, if it goes to match 3, Burroughs is taking it. If you want to beat Burroughs, you have to sweep him. That's it. And we've seen it time and time again. First 2 matches are both decided at one point. If Imar didn't give up that sprint in the first match, he would have been a world team member. That's what y'all don't realize.
Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. How many people have beaten Jordan Burroughs twice? Sidikov, I think, might be the only one.
Sidikov's the only one, yeah.
Yeah, and he's more than likely going to be an Olympic champ. He's a favorite. Let's be honest.
Savalov's gone. Savalov's leaving Russia, apparently.
Yeah, he's going to Azerbaijan or probably something like that. He's just going somewhere. Do you want to be that good and be back up to, again, Sidikov? You know how much that would suck. I get, I've said this before, half of these backups are all from guys who are number 1 in the world. Sajilev didn't. I don't even think Sajilev had to wrestle off for a spot.
Unlikely, yeah.
I think he did, but he teched him 30 seconds. It was bad.
Not surprised.
Dude, that's insane, though. But, I think that's really it. But, overall, I'm telling you guys, I'm rocking with Imar. I have been for a while now. I was one of the first wrestlers I ever started watching. He just won his title against Jason Dolph that year. People are always going to remember him for those 2 losses rather than any of his wins. And that just is what it is,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that's really any closing words?
No, not really. If you guys this was kind of my suggestion just because I really like technical analysis. If you guys want more technical or match breakdowns or general wrestler talk, at specific match talk as opposed to news and seedings and rankings, then let us know. So yeah.
We'll definitely try to get more for you. But that being said, thank you guys for watching episode 52 of Late Night Shots, and we will see you guys again next time.
All right, peace.